I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents.
We'll have some local reaction on the president's announcement on Afghanistan.
Wars don't end wars, They create new problems because the underlying conflicts haven't been really resolved.
Make a wish. We'll look at an effort to make the dreams of local schools come true.
No wish was too small or too large. I mean, they asked, they dreamed, and they asked Santa to make a miracle happen.
And if Rockefeller Centers not your thing, you can visit a tree that's a little closer to home.
The Christmas tree is like 60 feet high and 45 feet wide. We think it's either the first or the second biggest tree in all of Brooklyn.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. President Obama made it official last night, saying that the U.S. will increase its military presence in Afghanistan.
In a nationally televised speech from West Point, the president said it's part of a long-term strategy to eventually hand over security of Afghanistan to that country's own forces. But the first step is a massive increase in American troops.
And as Commander-in-Chief, I have determined that it is in our vital national interest to send an additional 30,000 U.S. troops to Afghanistan. After 18 months, our troops will begin to come home. These are the resources that we need to seize the initiative while building the Afghan capacity that can allow for a responsible transition of our forces out of Afghanistan.
Well, the president also added that he would ask NATO allies to increase the 40,000 troops that they have already sent.
We wanted to get a Catholic perspective on this, so I spoke earlier in the day with Jim Kelly of Pax Christi downtown Brooklyn, affiliated with the larger Pax Christi Catholic Peace Movement. He's also a professor emeritus of sociology at Fordham University. And we are joined now by Jim Kelly. Jim, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for asking someone from Pax Christi to come.
Well, we appreciate your time very much.
Yes.
And of course, the president with the big announcement last night, 30,000 additional U.S. forces in Afghanistan. They will start coming home. The plan is by 2011. What's your initial reaction to the announcement?
I think it's doomed to fail, and I would say it really does go against Pax Christi. And I would say also the understanding of the Catholic Church on the place of violence in terms of solving problems. For example, in 1991, there was a document by John Paul II called Centesimus Annus, where in celebration of the first Catholic social encyclical, Rerum Novarum. Right. And if our audience, if Catholics just read that document, especially number 52, they would find out what John Paul II was recommending to us is something that the early Christians also followed, namely that to be a disciple of Christ, listen to the Beatitudes, means that you're not only suspicious, but nonviolence is the only way that you can live out your discipleship. The violence doesn't work. And number 52, what John Paul II says that war, this is on the occasion of the first Persian Gulf War.
Right, exactly.
And he says, he said, war, never again, war is always a defeat for humanity. And then he lists, and we can read it for ourselves. He says, 4 things happen when you use violence. Now, the first thing that happens is that the innocent get killed, and that's true in modern warfare. The ratio of non-combatants, citizens being killed to military, is vast. The second thing that happens is that people get trained in killing. Soldiers have to kill. Yeah. And what that means is that really does, and it does harm to them. It destroys their lives and their humanity. And I think if you look at the statistics in terms of suicide of our military and broken marriages, you would say that, I mean, and the number of homeless now among the returning veterans. You would say it takes an awful cost for people to overcome the initial inhibition against killing. Right. And then he said the fourth thing that happens is that nothing really gets solved. You just create new resentment. So the problems get worse. So I'm always reminded of the first approach to the First World War, you know, the Great War, the war to end all war. They don't end, wars don't end wars. Right. They create new problems because the underlying conflicts haven't been really resolved. Right. So what Pope John II did there John Paul II, was commit the church to its origins, to become a church of nonviolence.
Right.
And Catholics don't realize that.
Yeah.
Like we realize our church is countercultural on abortion and some sex issue. We don't realize how radical the church is on questions of peace and war.
Right.
So it's the task of our forefathers. The task was to become good American citizens. The task of Catholics today is to become critical Catholic citizens who follow their own traditions and see the futility of violence to solve problems.
Right. Well, and with regards to this conflict, the conflict in Afghanistan specifically, the president last night said, well, this is the place where we were attacked from on 9/11. And this is a place where, the war has been mismanaged up until this point, saying that we could, we probably could have been out of here much sooner had things been handled differently at a different period of time, but that this was the only alternative that he could see at this point of doing this. Do you think that argument has any credence?
No. Well, first of all, I think it's not at all intelligent. I shouldn't say that. I say astute to think that you can manage violence or you can handle it better. I mean, as a faithful Catholic, I would say that that's even stepping off on the wrong sense, that you can manage this.
Right.
You can't. And then secondly is that there are alternatives, and in other words, to the alternatives that were offered suggested by Cardinal Ratzinger and others, and including Pope John Paul II, at the outbreak of the war, namely that this has to be resolved on the international level by the UN. Right. Just to go back to it, and then international police forces, because it's not an army, and terrorists can start any place. In fact, what Barack Obama is doing is probably going to make the Afghanistan-based Al-Qaeda help contribute to make it more transnational, so more of a
spread them out
a problem. Yes.
Well, and I wish we had more time to spend on it. Of course, there's so much to be said about this particular conflict, this particular issue, and especially from the Pax Christi point of view. We thank you so much for coming in, because this is obviously a point of view that is not going to be heard pretty much anywhere else. So we really appreciate your time.
I hope at least it's heard in Catholic parishes.
Right.
That would be a good place to start.
Well, thank you so much, Jim Kelly.
Thank
we really
you for
appreciate your
asking.
time.
Good luck.
Well, that is Jim Kelly with Pax Christi, downtown Brooklyn.
Well, there's much more current straight ahead. When we return, we have the day's headlines, including the results of a long-awaited vote in New York on gay marriage.
And it's not too early to think about 2011 and the next World Youth Day. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up in just a bit, we'll get a look at one of the largest Christmas trees that you're likely to see, and it is right here in Brooklyn.
But first, a look at the day's headlines. Well, after months of anticipation and intense lobbying on both sides, the New York State Senate has decisively voted down a bill to legalize same-sex marriage. The bill had been pushed by Governor David Paterson, but was strongly criticized by religious leaders, including the New York State Catholic Conference and Brooklyn's Bishop DiMarzio. The bill's defeat fell largely along party lines, 38-24. No Republicans supported the bill. Also, a number of Democrats voted against it. This means the bill is effectively dead for the year. Well, abortion has been at the center of the health care debate in Washington for some time. Now several pro-life senators are coming together to prepare an amendment to their health care bill that would block public money from being used to pay for abortions. Reports say Republican Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah and Democratic Senator Ben Nelson of Nebraska are heading up the pro-life amendment effort. The measure is reportedly similar to the Stupak amendment, which caused some controversy but passed in the House. Well, yesterday was World AIDS Day, and the new president of South Africa took the opportunity to announce a dramatic shift in the way his country deals with the disease. President Jacob Zuma says that the South African government will treat all HIV-positive babies and expand testing for the virus. Past administrations had denied the effectiveness of testing and HIV drugs. The country has the highest concentration of people affected or infected rather with HIV. Meanwhile, the Evangelical Alliance Mission said yesterday they are working to educate youth about treatment for and medicine for those affected with HIV. Reports say their efforts are a response to a dangerous myth spreading through Africa that an HIV-positive man can cure himself by having sex with a virgin.
Well, it has often been said that after high school, most students struggle in their faith and many end up leaving the church. But new research may be turning that theory on its head. A study being conducted by Fuller Youth Institute shows 2 to 3 years after high school, students say they feel closer to God. About 400 youth group students began taking part in the study in 2006. Researchers say about 50% of them reported struggling with their faith after graduation, but now many are experiencing positive changes in the way they view God. Well, young people are obviously the focus of the next World Youth Day. The event will not actually be held until August of 2011, but there's already a Spanish language informational website up and running. We get details now from H2O News.
It is a website made by young people for young people, which will undoubtedly be the reference point for the organization of the large youth event. The event was presided over by Cardinal Antonia Maria Rocco Varela at the headquarters of the organizing committee in the Plaza de San Juan de la Cruz in Madrid.
The history of World Youth Day is tied to the person of Pope John Paul II, and it is also tied to a certain point in the history of the Church, the first years of his pontificate.
In addition to publishing various news items about World Youth Day and the preparations, the page will be the instrument for recruiting the 15,000 volunteers who will greet young pilgrims from around the world.
Today, there are already volunteers working from all parts of the world. For example, a young German offered us his 9 languages, saying, "I want to help facilitate the Pope coming to Madrid, and I speak 9 languages." Then, all the protocols were done, information sent through Facebook, and in 48 hours, there were profiles in English, French, German, Italian, Japanese. Amazing! Record time.
From now on, all information on World Youth Day 2011 can be found at www.jmj2011madrid.com.
Well, Catholic and Anglican bishops in Canada say they're worried about human trafficking as the Winter Olympics approach in Vancouver. They're calling on churches and all people of goodwill to defend the dignity of every human person. The U.S. State Department estimates 800,000 people are trafficked across international borders each and every year. And a series of new ads by People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA, is causing quite a stir, especially among Christian groups. Joanna Krupa of Playboy and Dancing with the Stars fame appeared in the ads naked, as is often the case. In one ad, a large cross is the only thing covering the front of her body. In another, she appears topless, holding a puppy and a rosary. Krupa, who says that she's a practicing Catholic, defended those ads, but Catholic League President Bill Donahue called them just a ripoff of Christian iconography used to make cheap, irreligious claims.
There we go.
Controversial.
Well, stay tuned. There's more currents coming up straight ahead. Coming up, what's on your Christmas wish list? We'll hear about what some schools are hoping for.
Some of the wishes that we've received have ranged from technology to playgrounds, to Bibles, to microscopes.
Well, welcome back. Well, we all know that a certain someone this time of year is making a list and checking it twice. And I bet some of us know some young people also making their own wish lists for Christmas morning. But it turns out some folks from our area have a very different kind of wish list, and it's one that you may be able to help them with. Here to explain are Thomas Flood and Craig Katinas, both from the Alive in Hope Foundation. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Currents. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
For those who might not know, might not be familiar, Thomas, what is the Alive in Hope Foundation, and what do you guys do?
Well, the Alive in Hope Foundation is the Catholic Community Foundation serving the Diocese of Brooklyn, people in Brooklyn and Queens. We try to address the social, spiritual, and educational needs of the diocese, short-term and long-term.
Okay, well, what about this going on now during the holidays, during Christmas time, Advent leading up to Christmas? What is the whole wish list thing that you guys have going on?
Well, we've been thinking about doing this for quite some time, but we just identified a platform, a technological platform that can help us facilitate this wish list scenario, this idea. So what we did was we reached out to all the schools in the diocese and asked them for 2 wishes. Most of the schools responded, and we have a whole list of wishes. In fact, probably 1,100 items.
Absolutely. It was 60 schools have responded so far. And as Tom said, they came in one right after the other. And it was very funny in the office to receive the responses. We got another one, we got another one.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting for us to help build this wish for our schools in Brooklyn and Queens.
Yeah, we were serving like Santa's elves.
Nice,
Yeah.
minus the green shoes.
That's
Yeah.
true. Well, you can't see our shoes.
Right, no green pointy shoes.
Yeah.
So what are some special wishes that are out there right now, and how can folks help out?
Well, you know, some of the wishes that we've received have ranged from technology to playgrounds to Bibles to microscopes, and as large as a roof top. Santa needs a roof to land on, so this particular school asked for a roof. So no wish was too small or too large. I mean, they asked, they dreamed, and they asked Santa to make a miracle happen.
Okay.
And that's what we're working at.
Absolutely. I think one of the responses that we got from one of the schools was no wish too big, no gift too small for this. And it's been wonderful to see the support that's been coming in so far in response to this.
Okay, great. Now, I was on the website earlier on the Alive and Hope Foundation website, and I was seeing their kind of a list of all the schools and everything that are in, and some things. And you actually brought the list here of all the different things that the schools have been asking for. This is not a small price tag, so you guys are really kind of pushing folks to be able to give as much as they can. Obviously, this is, I mean, it's kind of a difficult thing this year, particularly because of the economic situation, things like that. But how are you folks kind of encouraging people to give?
Well, what we're doing is we're providing them the list of items. We're suggesting the prices. Our hope is that one person, one family will pick off items as they are.
Right.
However, there's an opportunity for them to give a partial gift to that overall item that this school is wishing for. Okay. So they can do it a myriad of ways. How they can give, it's all online for the most part, because that's where the list is. So we drive people to the website, which is www.aliveandhope.org, or they can go directly to the school's wish list, which is www.aihfchristmaswish.conterra.org.
Cool. Okay, well, very good. Now, of course, we'll link up to all that on our blog, on our
Great.
website, so folks can have the links there. And
wonderful.
Just kind of one central location to go to. So.
And we've been able to address some questions that people have had, so they can simply contact us at the foundation office if someone has a very specific question about the schools and how they can participate. Because some people still, they just want to make sure, you know, with the technological era, they just want to make sure, hey, is this going where it should? And we give them the assurances and can give them the step-by-step process if they need help.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I know some folks, like, my mom, for example, not the most technologically savvy. So if she wanted to be a part of that and give, then she could definitely do that there on the telephone as well. So
absolutely.
We'll actually give that information on our website also. So Thomas Flood, Craig Katinas, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank
you.
Thanks. Well, and we'll have more on all of this, of course, including some details on how you can help. Our blog is over at Riding the Wave. Just head over to currentsny.net and click on the Riding the Wave icon there on the right-hand part of the screen. Stay with us. There's more Currents coming up straight ahead.
Coming up, look up. It's not a bird and not a plane. It's one of Brooklyn's biggest Christmas trees.
5,000 lights. One man decorates the whole tree, and it takes him about 15 or 20 days.
Well, a lot of New Yorkers crowded into Rockefeller Center tonight to watch the lighting of the fabled Christmas tree, the largest and most famous in the city. But Who really even needs that when we have something that is almost as grand right here in Brooklyn?
That's right. This is really truly spectacular. Reportedly the second largest Christmas tree in New York City, the largest one in our borough right here in Brooklyn. Last night they held the annual tree lighting for this historic landmark at Good Shepherd Church. We didn't want to miss out on it, so we dropped by to get a real idea of how a tree glows in Brooklyn. Take a look.
Today has been a tradition in Good Shepherd probably for the last 20 years with Monsignor Brady. The Christmas tree was planted over 50 years ago. The Christmas tree is like 60 feet high and 45 feet wide. We think it's either the first or the second biggest tree in all of Brooklyn. And it's been a great tradition in this parish with beautiful music and beautiful spirit. So that's why tonight's important. 5,000 lights. One man decorates the whole tree, and it takes him about 15 or 20 days to decorate the tree. He started decorating the tree in September because we have a very unique problem in Marine Park. We're going to change the name of Good Shepherd to Our Lady of the Squirrels because squirrels eat the wires. So the man has to take all the lights down, fix them, and then put them all the way back up again. So he has a lot of work to do.
I get such pleasure and joy in seeing the joy and the excitement in the children's faces, both the young and the old. It's amazing what Christmas does to everybody. It makes everybody remember their childhood. It makes everybody young again. And that's what I hope this Christmas season brings in. Helps people forget about what a tough year it's been all around and help people remember a little bit about the good times.
Happy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, in his underwear, Rudolph with your nose so bright, won't you guys?
If you haven't experienced this, it's a wonderful community-based event. We get about 1,000 people from all over, not just from Good Shepherd. We want them to know that this is a Christian community, that it's the beginning of our Christmas season. And we want to keep Christ in Christmas, and that's it. You know, it's a great, great way to begin our Christmas season.
The band is a regular concert band of about 40 students. We have everything from flutes, clarinets, trumpets, baritones, basses, drums, saxophones, you name it. We're going to be playing Christmas favorites that are sacred and secular.
What I would like people to take home is just a spirit of well-being, that people are at home here at Good Shepherd, and it's a great community, and we'll probably have 1,000 people out here celebrating Advent and Christmas. So I think just the idea of people being together and people being happy and people realizing the true meaning of the season, it's certainly going to be a great night for everybody.
To see enough of the tree. I want to see the tree.
It's so pretty though. It's worth the wait. You know, it's very cool. I like that though. And Father Devlin, I talked to him back during the earlier part of the fall. He's a great guy, and there's definitely a great tradition there in that parish.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the music is great, the bands, the kids singing. I mean, it's adorable. I saw the little girl opened up the piece with her songs, and yeah. I feel so bad for the guy that decorates it. 2 or 3 weeks worth of decorating, and he has to contend with squirrels, wire-eating squirrels, light-eating squirrels.
Strange diet. And who knew that Santa had a Brooklyn accent? I had no idea.
You know, I guess that, you know, the North Pole, I guess it takes all kinds. So,
Right.
you know.
I never thought I'd hear Santa say, forget about it.
Forget about it. Forget about it. All right, well, that is all for this edition of Currents. Tomorrow, Got Jesus. We'll visit a dynamic gathering of young people talking about how to quench the thirst for Jesus. We have that and more tomorrow.
And until then, though, you can always catch us online. CurrentsNY.net is the website. And we have more on our stories. Be sure to visit our blog as well. Riding the Wave is right there on the right-hand part of the screen. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a great night.